Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Just Talking About Sports. I'm Ethan.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Jackson.
And Matt, what are we doing today?
Talking about sports.
Thank you. This is, I believe, our 29th episode of Just Talking About Sports, where today we're going to be covering the Madden 21 team rankings, or overalls. This week, they ended up leaking some of basically the entire 32 team and what overalls are all going to be in all their top 10 players from each team. And we're going to be going over a few teams that we believe are a little bit too high and some teams are a little bit too low. We're also going to be not covering our own teams because we're going to be saving that for part two because it's going to be very entertaining because we're going to be extremely biased towards our teams just for the fun of it. So stay tuned for that part two of the video. But for now, we're going to be starting with our part one where we're going to be covering the best and our basically too high of teams and too low of teams. And without further ado, let's get right into it.
All right, before we get going, I think it's important for our viewers who don't know, just a quick overview of the top 10 teams. According to Madden 21 through Madden School, we still don't know the official rankings from EA. We'll know in August, but on screen, obviously, you have the Saints, 49ers, Ravens, Buccaneers, Cowboys, Eagles, Chiefs, Colts, Steelers, and Browns.
Alrighty, so those are our top 10. I mean, there's some questionable ones in there, and we'll get to those. I'll start this off with my too high of a team, or at least we'll start with our too highs. And obviously, there's one team that kind of is a little bit, I mean, for me, not like the rest of the others, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are at number 4 in the league, and the Chiefs are at number 7 somehow. But we'll stick with the Buccaneers for now. The Buccaneers. So people don't know at the moment that the Buccaneers, obviously they're a great team. They have plenty of offensive power, and defensively they're also extremely stacked. They got people like Ndamukong Suh, Barrett, and plenty of other things. I mean, their secondary isn't the greatest, but their front line is absolutely amazing. They got players on offense like literally Tom Brady. They got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They got the running backs Peyton Barber, Ronald Jones. They got even their tight end Rob Gronkowski. But speaking of Rob Gronkowski, there's a slight problem with his ranking, I think, on that team because the man is literally not played a game an entire year. He's taken it off, and Madden decides to reward him by taking a year off by giving him a 95 overall. He's literally their best player on their team according to Madden, which makes absolutely no sense because who knows what Gronkowski you're going to even get in the first place. The man's still kind of banged up. He still has the concussions. They don't just magically disappear that he all had. And this Tampa Bay, I mean, having him or at least having them, the Buccaneers, at number 4 of all places, I think is a wee bit too high, especially with Gronkowski. I'd give Gronkowski an 80-something overall. I wouldn't even give him a 90 because there are plenty of other tight ends that should be better than him. I mean, that played a lot better last season where Gronkowski didn't even step on the field once. So why are you rewarding the man for not even playing? I don't know, but that's Madden, and they're little wacky every year, and I think they're just trying to fuel that Brady-Gronkowski chemistry in the game.
I think wacky is a very generous term to describe EA and how they've handled Madden in the past few years, but I'll just leave it at that.
I'm going to just touch on your Buccaneers thing here real quick. I see a man in Gronkowski who should not be any higher than an 85 because the way Mark Andrews played last year, Baltimore Ravens tight end, 86 overall. He can't be any higher than that. Like, when you take a year off, you've left so much on the table for regression, inability to, know the playbook. There's so many things that can factor into Gronk struggling in his return. And so I feel like giving him a 95 overall out of the gates is stupid.
Good way to put it. All right. Jackson, would you like to give your way too high of a team?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with the team right underneath and tied with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. For all the talent that they have, Zach Martin at a 98, Ezekiel Elliott at 92, Amari Cooper 92, DeMarcus Lawrence 89. This team went 8-8 last year. Yes, I know this game is based on ratings and stuff like that. But you're taking a team that went 8-8 and just completely underachieved. You're going to put them as tied with the 4th highest overall team. that just doesn't seem right, considering when you have playoff teams like Seattle, Houston, and I'll even say Minnesota. I think those are some teams that should be a little bit higher, just because if you're putting the Cowboys in 83, I think the problem with it is that they're America's team. So I think part of it is to not make those fans angry, keep them at a decent overall to keep them satiated. But they have good players, don't get me wrong. And I know it's a video game, it's a simulation, anything can happen. But I just think it's way too high considering how they played last year.
I don't know. I think that for what you have here, we're looking purely based off talent. Because there's a lot of teams up here that would be in completely different situations if it wasn't just purely based off talent. And I don't know. I mean, I look at the ratings. Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper are probably exactly where I think they would be, 92. Prescott, 84. Yeah, that's fine. Gerald McCoy, 85. Reasonable. Everything here is reasonable, and that's why I say I don't know. I think the Cowboys may not be 5 based off of talent, but they're pretty close.
All right, Matt, would you like to give your way too high of a team now that you've heard
I
of?
would love to. Where do I start? Okay. So, for those of you who probably don't know, as you can't tell by the hat, whatever, not a Cleveland fan. Haven't been for a while, and mainly it's because they're overhyped every year, especially the past couple of years after they got Baker and whatnot. Do they look like a top 10 team to you? I don't think so. Let's start there. Are they better than the Bears? Well, the Bears are too high too, but that's another thing. The Browns are not a good football team, period. Their quarterback sucks, straight up. Sorry, Baker. Nobody cares about you. Your running back play, you got a good running back. Fine. Congratulations. You got Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah, he had his ups and downs last year. Jarvis Landry, decent. Tight ends, after Njoku requested a trade, they got nothing. Their defense never played at all last year, and yet somehow we're still here sitting on top 10 above a team in the Bills, above teams like the Chargers, above a team like the Patriots and the Seahawks. Oh, my God. I'm on the stretch to say Browns are in top 20, and you put them in the top 10. That's a problem for me. I think that when you have a team like that's as garbage as they played last year, and they don't even look like they have that much talent on paper. You've got a guy like – sorry, I didn't mention Myles Garrett, but he hit somebody in the head with the helmet. But there's so many things with Cleveland that just don't add up to a top 10 team. Talent definitely has a place in it, and then just pure idiocy from the entire team is another thing.
Yeah, I mean – I will slightly disagree with you that saying they have no talent after Njoku requested a trade, because according to Madden, at least Austin Hooper's an 89 overall.
Oh, okay. My bad. Forgot about Hooper.
You're good.
Doesn't matter. They have a quarterback that can't throw the ball.
Yeah. But for the rest of that, I definitely agree. I think the players in their top 10, they all make sense. I just don't know how that all adds up to an 81 overall. And yeah, there's just, at least in those 81 overall teams, I'd say there's at least 2, maybe an argument for 3 if you're not biased, teams that shouldn't be in 81. I'm looking at Cleveland, the Raiders, and depending on who you talk to, the Bears may be a little too high. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on Cleveland.
The one thing about Cleveland I forgot to mention, I didn't even realize Kareem Hunt was on this top 10.
I was going to touch on that.
What the hell? 87 overall?
What didn't do anything last year?
I don't get it. Let's put Kareem Hunt higher than someone. Wait, Kareem Hunt's higher than Leonard Fournette. I'm sorry. Don't care if it's biased or not.
And Austin Eckler.
Oh, sorry, and Eckler. There's a lot of guys on here that I'm going to.
Yeah,
that's stupid. He's higher than Melvin Gordon and stuff like that. Like, really? Come on.
Madden, oh Madden, oh Madden. We just love ripping on them, right?
Well, they seem to get a lot of things wrong.
Yeah. We got, like I said, fire Steve Young. I mean, he's the one that
I'm not really sure.
He's not solely responsible for all this. I think that was just a PR move.
He was in the 99 Club reveal, so fire him. He's part of that situation. He's encouraging this bad behavior by Madden.
Bad behavior.
I don't know. Oh well, but we'll stop. I think hating on them so much, and we'll give a little bit more to teams that I think will also should be a little bit higher up, because I know we have the ones that should be putting them low. We'll be moving to teams that we believe should be a little bit higher than what Madden decided to rank. Basically, they're underrated at the moment, or sleepers. So I'll probably start off with this one. I'll start a little bit lower. I know we started off in like the 4s and the 5s for our first ones. I'll start off by the number 22 team on this list, Atlanta Falcons. I mean, I think that they're a little bit better than people have been saying. I think that they Matt Ryan, Julio Jones. I mean, they now have Todd Gurley. If they can get him healthy, watch out. And they have plenty of talented people on this roster, including some of the guys they continue to pick up. Yes, their defense may not be as great, but giving them a 79 overall, not even an 80, with I think it's a little bit disrespectful to some of the players on that team. And I think that Atlanta should be just a wee bit higher. I mean, even given like a Julio Jones a 96, I mean, I don't know. I think that I think their defense is also a little bit better than people think. I mean, they even got like people like Dante Fowler. They still have Deion Jones. They have Grady Jarrett. They have a lot of defensive talent on that roster. So at least giving them an 80 or an 81, I think would have been a better place for Atlanta, as they will be a little bit better than people think this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a look at their top 10, and I think there's really 3 players on this roster that are really one kind of underrated and 2 really underrated. I think Julio Jones should be a 97. I don't think I know it's only 2 overall, but I still don't think there's a 2 overall difference between DeAndre Hopkins and Julio Jones.
They're like the similar.
They're very close. It seems silly to say, 2 overall, that's too big, but that is to me. And the other 2 guys who are really underrated are Calvin Ridley and Deion Jones.
Yes.
Considering all the carrying Deion Jones had to do last year, I believe he was injured at some point last year as well. But considering
back-to-back years, he tore something. Like 2 years ago, his season was cut short, and last season it was like halfway through the season. What happened again? It was something with his ankle, I think.
But the amount of work he's had to do to carry that defense. And then Calvin Ridley has really – I think he should be like an 85, 86. He's emerged as one of the best number 2 wide receivers in the league, and only put him in 83, which I love, or I like Tyler Boyd on the Bengals, but I think Calvin Ridley's better than Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
All right, well, we'll keep going down the line, and I'll say Jackson. What are your thoughts on your team that should be a little bit higher?
All right, I'm gonna go with based on playoffs. I'm gonna go with the second place finished team in the AFC in the Tennessee Titans. Yes, I know they traded away Jarrell Casey. He's only an 84. But a lot of their players are severely underrated. And you're telling me that a team that made it to the AFC Championship game is worse than, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that didn't make the playoffs. That just does not make any sense to me. I just don't get it. Like, how can you put a team like the Titans? And a lot of their players are really underrated. Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard are solid overalls at 93, 91. I think Adoree Jackson is a little underrated at 84. A.J. Brown is really underrated at only an 81. He should be at that same range as a Tyler Boyd at 83, considering the season he had last year. And then the biggest thing I'm seeing on here, no Ryan Tannehill in the top 10. Like, yes, I know he only played a part way through the season, but he was fantastic. He was at least a 82 level, above average quarterback in the league and led the team. Like, he beat New England?
Yeah,
with Tom Brady.
The best defense in the league, according to people last year. So.
Yeah, the best defense. He beat the best defense in the league. So, I think it's insane that they have the Titans at an 80. Considering just looking at the rest of the teams, you're saying the Titans are only 2 overall points better than the Giants and the Broncos and the
And the Jags.
Jets. I
And the
was
Jags.
gonna be nice because I know we're gonna talk about them later, but I thought it'd
Yeah.
be nice for now.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But my thing here is we did a top 10 quarterbacks thing not the other day. And in my honorable mentions, I did not mention Tannehill, but that needs to be mentioned. And so I apologize ahead of time. But I think that Tannehill is severely underrated. And people overlook him because King Henry's in town. But I truly believe Tannehill is an excellent quarterback. I think he has everything that you need for a guy of his age and his skill. He's a very mobile guy. He played wide receiver in college, and so you already have that ability. You know where to go with the ball. That's powerful for a guy like that. So he knows how to do that. He has a big cannon. People don't realize it. May not be accurate yet. It may not be fine-tuned, but he's got an arm, a cannon. And that's why you saw guys like A.J. Brown succeed under that offense last year. I think the Titans should be – look at that. I mean, the Browns are 9 spots above them as I go back to my own team.
Oh, and I also missed 2 more teams that are above the Titans that didn't make the playoffs, the Steelers and the Colts. I didn't even include them.
And Cowboys and Bucks. Neither of them in the playoffs last year.
Oh, that's right. I excused the Buccaneers because of all the talent that they added in
Cowboys
this year. The Cowboys, they don't excuse. They're way too high. But
yeah, the Titans are extremely underrated on here. That's a team I definitely agree with. And I look at the ratings. I think Henry should be higher than a 93, but whatever people think is whatever you think. I think Taylor Lewan should be higher than an 84, one of the best offensive linemen there. And then Brett Kern, 85. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of guys on here that are pretty underrated, and I don't think they don't get enough credit. They should have more.
All right. And then, Matt, for your final team that you think that should be a little bit higher.
All right. Well, I'm zoning in on one conference specifically, the NFC West. I'm going to go 2 teams real quick. Seahawks first. The fact that they're not in the top 16 in the top half of the league, yet they have a guy named Russell Wilson. Like, there's so many things here. You got Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, Greg Olsen, Chris Carson. You got Shaquille Griffin. You got so many high-level talent players. DK Metcalf isn't even an 80 overall. Huh? What? There's so many things here that don't make sense to me. I think the Seahawks deserve a ton of more credit than they're getting here. They should definitely be. They are one of those teams that could be top 10, and nobody would argue. That's my first one. And then the second one, I have a team that I'm not as strong about, the Cardinals. They have a ton of talent that they've built right now. Kyler Murray should be higher than a 77. Kenyon Drake, after the season he had, should be higher than an 82. I think Hopkins should be a 99. Whatever, not a big difference. Patrick Peterson deserves higher than an 88. There's a lot of things on here that I think the teams that don't have the biggest markets are teams that get overlooked, and their overall ratings get overlooked. And this is a perfect example. And I think the Cardinals deserve to be a lot higher than 21.
I know.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, I was going to say the Seahawks, I'll start with that real quick. I mean, Seahawks really have Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson, who are 98 and 97, and they're still somehow a 80 overall team. I mean, come on. I mean, if you have people that high, at least give them an 81 or something. Let them in the top half if they have, like, I guess if you're counting the 97, 98, they have 2 of the best, like, players in the entire league, which in fact they do. And you're telling me they're in the below half of the league, and it kind of doesn't make any sense. But also going to the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals have so much offensive weapons, and people know that they're going to be good, yet Madden decides to give them a 79, can't even give them an 80. It's kind of also a little bit disrespectful. I understand if you're giving 4 teams in the same division above like an 80, it's sometimes hard. But for me, I think that the NFC West deserves it this year with all the talent that they have in all 4 of their teams in that division. So I think that those two teams should be a lot higher than they are.
Yeah, I mean, I will slightly disagree on Arizona just because they have a lot of young talent that hasn't proven themselves yet. We don't know how
Fair.
Hopkins is going to be in Arizona. He's still going to be great, but it's just a matter of seeing. But yeah, I mean, definitely Seattle is severely underrated. And like we said, Las Vegas didn't make the playoffs. The Chargers didn't make it. The Bears didn't make it. The Browns, the Steelers, the Colts, Buccaneers, and Cowboys all didn't make the playoffs, yet they're all in the top 16. This just makes no sense. When you have a defensive player of the year candidate and an offensive player and MVP candidate on your team, there's no reason you shouldn't be in the top half of the league. It just does not make sense to me.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Alrighty, well, I think this is going to conclude our first half of our Madden overall rankings, as we have gone through at least the honorable mentions of the teams that we think should be higher and lower. And make sure you guys go check out our part 2 of this episode, where we get to be a little bit more biased, because we're going to be talking about our own favorite teams, the Bears, the Jags, and the Dolphins. So stick around for that video. It should be coming out soon. But without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed our 29th episode, part 1 of Just Talking About Sports. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
Adios.